I'm Emily. I'm 32. And if I could rewind time, I'd catch the words before they escaped my lips. Just one reckless sentence, one careless slip, was all it took to unravel 3 years of love, trust, and the life we were slowly, tenderly building together. If you've ever wounded someone you loved by drawing a painful comparison to your past, when all they ever wanted was to be enough for you, please share your story. I need to know I'm not the only one haunted by this kind of regret. It happened on a quiet Thursday. There were no warning signs, no harsh words, no alcohol, no thunder outside, just a normal evening in our warm little kitchen. Mark was at the stove, carefully stirring his go-to comfort recipe, homemade vegetable soup. It was his ritual. Something about it calmed him. I was perched on the counter nearby, half present, scrolling mindlessly through my phone, lost in social feeds. He turned his head slightly and mentioned a new email from work. His long-anticipated promotion was finally official. Without looking up, I mumbled, "That's great," and kept thumbing through my screen. He gave the pot another stir, then paused. "I thought you'd be a little more excited," he said quietly. His voice wasn't angry, just hopeful, maybe a little let down. He was right to expect more. This promotion had meant everything to him. He'd poured himself into his work for months, chasing that milestone with everything he had. But I wasn't really there. I was still reeling from a conversation I'd had earlier that day with my sister. She'd brought up my ex, Jason, and all the extravagant vacations and luxury he used to flaunt. It stirred something bitter inside me, something I should have let fade. Instead, I let it fester. And then I turned and handed that bitterness to Mark. The man who held me through panic attacks. Who made me tea when I was under the weather. Who once spent an entire Saturday assembling a desk for my office without a single complaint. And I looked at him and said the thing that undid it all. Maybe if you were more like Jason, you'd have gotten that promotion sooner. Jason, my ex. All charm, all polish, all surface-level sparkle. He treated love like it was something to buy and win. And somehow, I'd held on to him in my memory longer than I realized. Mark's hands stopped moving. The light in his eyes dimmed. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He just set the ladle down gently, turned the stove off, and wiped his hands slowly on a dish towel. Like he was trying to scrub away what I'd just said. Without a word, he walked toward the hallway. I jumped off the counter, heart pounding. "Mark, wait, please, that's not how I meant it," I said, panic lacing my voice. He opened the closet, pulled out his old duffel bag, and began packing. "You did mean it," he replied softly. "And it's okay. I get it now." I was stumbling over my words, trying to fix what couldn't be unsaid. It came out wrong. I was just upset. He didn't respond. Just kept folding clothes. Grabbed his phone charger. Zipped the bag closed with quiet finality. Then he said it, his voice calm, but clear. "I'm not here to compete with ghosts, Em. I wanted to build something real with you. But I can't keep giving everything I have to someone whose heart still makes room for someone else." He walked to the front door, turned the knob, stepped outside, and closed it behind him. No slam. No final glance. Just the soft sound of the door clicking shut, and it echoed through my chest like thunder. I stood frozen, expecting him to come back after a walk. Or maybe by morning. We'd had disagreements before. Surely this was just another. But when the sun rose, he didn't return. A day passed. Then another. I began to notice what was missing. His coat from the rack. His mug from the kitchen shelf. He wasn't taking space. He had left. Mark never asked me to erase Jason from memory. All he wanted was for me to stop holding him up to a standard built on illusion and regret. And I failed him. I hurt the one person who saw me clearly, and made him feel like that wasn't enough. I punished him for not being someone he was never supposed to be. 1 week later, I sat on the floor and recorded a voice message, 42 takes, until it sounded raw and real enough. "Mark, I'm so sorry. Not just for what I said, but for making you feel like you weren't enough. Jason had money, sure. But he never really saw me. You did. You paid attention to everything. You knew me, and I let you think that wasn't worth anything. That's my fault. I hit send. Days passed. Silence. 12 days later, a reply. You don't owe me an apology, M. I just need peace. And I couldn't find it with you. No cruelty. No coldness. Just truth. And that truth wrecked me in a way anger never could. He loved me enough to leave, quietly, respectfully, finally. And that broke me more than shouting ever would have. 3 months later, I still glance at my phone every morning, not because I expect him to text, but because some small part of me hopes. I catch glimpses of him everywhere. In the way I wrap my scarf, the way he taught me. In the toast I always burn. He used to take it out too early, and I never adjusted. In the empty space I leave on his side of the bed, even now. I don't miss some idealized version of Mark. I miss Mark. The man who knew I liked oat milk in my coffee. Who sat through my long rants about work projects he didn't understand. Who stood by my side at crowded parties when I felt like I didn't belong. I lost him because I clung to a memory that never deserved a home in my heart. So if you're reading this, and if you have someone who's there in the small, unremarkable moments, who stays when life is messy, who listens even when they don't have the answers, don't make them feel like they're in second place. Don't wait until they've closed the door behind them to realize they were always your best choice. Because sometimes the door doesn't shut with fury. Sometimes it closes with self-respect. And when that's the reason, it rarely opens again.